Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to MadWinAI podcast, where we talk about AI without the bullshit. Real AI, real impact, and no fluff. Join Darshan Somaiah, marketing head at Quantiphi, as we cut through the hype and dive into the real enterprise AI questions in this game show style podcast. Get ready for real impact. What is actually working in GenAI today?
Generative AI has been evolved over the period of time. There are a lot of players in the market who has been driving generative AI to kind of create workflow automation.
Has any project that you have worked on died because of whatsoever reason?
There are a lot of data sensitive industries in the market. Like pharma. Pharma is one of the data sensitive industry in the market.
How does the CFO of a company, of an enterprise, justify GenAI spend in today's market? How should they look at it?
To any given entity, you have automation. So you have platforms for every catering department. Like you have HRMS platforms.
We talk about healthcare, then we talk about BFSI, and then we talk about manufacturing. I want to understand one use case in these industries that is driving significant impact.
Healthcare is quite diversified industry. When it comes to BFSI, we are working with one of the organizations which kind of does tax returns in US. Manufacturing it's again quite diversified because there are different units.
Why Quantify above Google agents?
Because of the features. Now we don't have the muscle there. Let me be frank, there's no muscle in there. Now Google has used muscle to kind of push it in the market.
What is one AI buzzword that you truly hate?
Substituting your job or taking off my job.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to MadWinAI podcast, where we talk about AI without the bullshit. Real AI, real impact, and no fluff. Join Darshan Somaiah, marketing head at Quantiphi, as we cut through the hype and dive into the real enterprise AI questions in this game show style podcast. Get ready for real impact. Darshan, please go ahead and give us a quick introduction.
Thanks, Varshit. It's a pleasure speaking with you today. It's a great day, and as you rightly mentioned, I'm with Quantify now as marketing head. I've been working with quite a lot of product-based organizations in the past. AI has been a new venture from Accenture Software onwards. Prior to that, it wasn't AI. It was more into traditional workforce. So this is about me in terms of my career profile.
Amazing. And we have so many good questions prepared for you in this session. Just before we get started, I want to give you a quick overview of what is it going to be about. We're going to have 10 rounds where we are going to discover the AI truth and kill the fluff and talk about the real impact of how AI, generative AI, agentic AI is impacting the real life use cases. Are we ready?
Sure.
Let's
Thank you.
Amazing. So round one, Darshan, is we're cutting the fluff with separating AI hype from reality. And so my first question is, what is actually working in Gen AI today?
Okay, so let me just take one step back in terms of GenAI. So generative AI has been evolved over the period of time, Varshit. So there are a lot of players in the market who has been driving generative AI to kind of create workflow automation, to create agentic workflow, to create personas. That's something that the product that I work in Quantify caters to. I think for any game in the field, there's something that you probably you miss a chance to address it in the market, and that's basically data security and compliance, and that's where Quantify comes in front. So to ensure that whatever we do in terms of generative AI, in terms of delivering the workflow automation or agentic workflow, it sits within your firewall, within your VPC. So the data doesn't floating. I mean, there's a lot of news that's floating around in the market that your data has been sold. because you're uploading a lot of documents, you're uploading a lot of information, so because you're using a lot of SaaS cloud-based solutions, right? So what's happening in the background, we never know. So we are ensuring that data security comes first. So owning your GenAI is the motto at Quantify.
So, Darshan, could you please help me understand? All this part of data security comes under cyber security bit. I understand that Quantify's USP here is that Quantify developing the GenAI solutions for your enterprise is based on your cloud, so it is more secure, right? But is there any other way where Quantify is ensuring that data security is there and entire system is secure?
So the way it works here, Varshit, is like we use large language models, right? So the prompt, whenever you want a response, you ask the prompt, and then you follow up with follow-up questions to it to address your queries. Now, in case of generative AI solution, which is Bionic, by the way, the product name is Bionic at Quantify, which I work here. They cater to the kind of prompt where you can search your queries, respond to your queries within your firewall, within your documents, within your shared files. That means I don't have visibility. So if I deploy it to any organization tomorrow on generative AI, I don't have visibility what documents you've been using for, what's the workflow that you're catering out of it and all that, right? So that's where we want to be. We want to show that it's white labeled, it's sitting with you, it's with your environment. You use the generative AI, you own it. You don't have to kind of rely on third-party vendors, where you want to upload documents, create a BRD document, or create a GTM by sharing some files, and then you never know what the file has been used for. And that's the motto. I mean, that's the USP that Bionic caters to.
Understood. And there is a lot of hype around this. Can you explain GenAI's business value without sounding like a brochure? Because we see so many GenAIs now. Can you explain what exactly business value it is putting on the table?
So we used to spend a lot of time, if you recollect, Varshit, it's like a traditional way that we used to spend a lot of time creating documents, creating protocols, creating process documents. We used to spend a lot of time preparing for meeting, in terms of minutes of meeting and all that, right? Now, where this comes down is, your core area of work is not what you're supposed to do in terms of creating these process documents or preparing for the meeting. So that's where generative AI comes into play. So you want an enabler which will help you in terms of create a meeting preparedness, to create a workflow. It's diversified across departments. It's not specific to any department. Any department, like HR can use generative AI today for onboarding a new employee. You can also source new candidates, the right candidate that you want to onboard by HR. Sales can prepare a GTM, what's his roadmap for Q3 and Q4, where he doesn't want to spend his whole time creating the deck, building the formula and sharing the final output that is needed. Generative AI is coming as an enabler. It's coming in terms of helping you to create this so that you focus on the key nodes or key areas of work that you have today, than you spend time in creating these documents and processes and workflows.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And may I ask you, what generative AI models are you using? How do you create your GTMs or sales processes?
So there are different elements at Bionic here. So one is, of course, I spoke about the agentic workflow, and now there is also an enabler called skills. We call it skills. Basically, it's workflow automation. Now, for example, I can create a workflow automation to kind of create like the way I said, onboarding process, right? So I can define it to the workflow in terms of what documents has to be taken care for onboarding, and the workflow is algorithmically created, and agents kind of orchestrate those skills to kind of retrieve those outputs over using those skills. So we've been using a lot for healthcare, where we are helping in terms of clinical trial protocol. We are trying to use it for for staff augmenting, for outpatient and hospital care coordination for healthcare. When it comes to finance, we are also taking care of tax returns, helping anybody to kind of help in terms of saving money in terms of tax returns. So where it is catered by with the help of skills and agents. So agents like, you create agents like an auditor, create an agent like a finance and financial advisor. He also gives you information like what stocks have been, that you have to invest at that point in time. And that's where we've been using a lot of it. Yeah.
Amazing. I just wanted to hear that you're using Quantify
Right.
for your GenAI needs. All right. Which brings us to the next round, which is called AI Project Killers. So here, Darshan, we want to hear the top 2 reasons AI projects die. And first of all, let me go ahead and ask: has any project that you have worked on died because of whatsoever reason?
I think, yeah. So, sometimes what happens is like, the expectation of creating these super agents, where you have an agent to kind of overshoot or over take care of the agentic workflow. It becomes quite challenging. And catering to that level of workflow. Sometimes it becomes quite challenging to kind of deliver what the use case or the prospect is looking for at any given point in time. Like the collaborative agent, where an agent sits on top of two agents. So that's something that has overkilled, and we kind of had to create some API integrations to ensure that the right information comes out of it, and then we had to kind of fulfill the requirement what the user looking for.
You point out the reason, Darshan, why these problems came in the first place, or why the projects died, or what is it that could have been avoided to make sure that things are smooth, or we did not do this in the first place?
So the way market is, Varshit, is like it's evolving. Generative AI is an evolving market. There's always some new thing that is always evolving over the period of time. And these kind of evolving information comes through when you actually speak to prospects on a regular basis. And we kind of realize that, we think it's like the frog in a small pond, right? We think that we are the biggest generative AI platform on the world. But when you start speaking to the experts in the market across finance and the healthcare division, you learn that, there's something beyond this that AI can address. And that's why you kind of create it as a product roadmap. You deploy it in the product roadmap. That comes through the customer. Rather, it has to come from the product. So we have to define it, and it's the other way around. So that's that's the main reason that we've been we couldn't kind of dealt with the requirement at any given point in time by the customer. So we had to kind of spend a lot of time, buy time, create a new feature and functionality, and that becomes part of the product. And the project died because of time span, because they couldn't wait. They said it's something that's not new, that's already there in the market, so we had to kind of build over the period of time, overnight, and we had to kind of run it with the project, with the customer on the.
Absolutely. I think this point itself gives you a lot of clarity, where you need to have a solid product roadmap which comes from the customer, which comes from the endpoint, and then you stick to that roadmap to identify. Because how GenAI is working today is, GenAI is not something that is going to do all your work by itself, right? You have to first give it proper prompts. You have to first give it proper understanding of the knowledge, the previous knowledge of how things should be done. When all of that data is fed, then it uses artificial intelligence to finally give you something that you could expect. right? So as a proper business function, whatever it is, may it be finance or HR, of course, these functions, these people have more knowledge of what they do, because they do it daily. They've been doing it for years. And when they have the best knowledge, only they are the best people to understand, okay, these things are repetitive and they can be automated, and it can't come from the solution side. Can't come from people like you or me.
Absolutely true. I agree with that. Because the end of the day, when you work on a product like a generative platform that I work on,
Hmm.
you need to understand the industry a bit. You just
Right.
cannot deal with the product directly because it's quite comprehensively, it's quite diversified and quite customized to each industry that we cater to in the market. Like
Absolutely.
I need to understand how healthcare industry caters to in the market. I need to understand what is staff augmentation, what is patient care, what is the how do you kind of create a rehabilitation plan for a outpatient. I need to understand the complete process flow. Until and unless I understand the industry, I can't cater to that industry.
Absolutely.
Uh, so that's the kind of adaptability that you need to have when you cater to any given industry or department. Even before you
Absolutely.
cater.
And
Yeah,
just to be safe, can you tell us, if we are there to automate a couple of things, what are the red flags that we should avoid during project kickoff? Or because, whatever the industry tells us, we will try to understand and learn, right? We are here to understand their business processes and automate their repetitive task with intelligence.
true.
But what is it that you have realized, okay, if this is the challenge, I've seen this a couple of times before, this is definitely a red flag, and they don't really need automation right now, they don't need AI right now.
Um, so sometimes what happens is there are a lot of data sensitive industries in the market. Like pharma. Pharma is one of the data sensitive industry in the market. Like you kind of cater to a lot of formulas and medications that you don't want to kind of get this rooted out in terms of how you want to, like clinical trials. When somebody does a clinical trial, you don't want kind of the lab information to kind of float it out to any other market. So we ensure that AI is very limited when it comes to catering to these level of information. It's kind of sugar coats on over and top of it rather than kind of deploying the actual clinical trial protocols that needs to be done by a clinical trial expert, right? So we ensure that we inform this to any given customer, saying that we have to kind of not touch this area when we kind of deploy AI at any and they kind of consented. They say that let's not do that. I agree with that. So it's quite sensitive in terms of those level of information when we kind of deploy generative AI platforms like Bionic today.
Absolutely, makes sense, makes sense, 100%. Which brings us to the next mode, where we're gonna talk about the ROI from these Gen AI solutions or agentic AI solutions. It's called CFO mode, where we talk about ROI and justification, making AI pay off. Where my question one, Darshan, is how does a CFO of a company, of an enterprise, justify Gen AI spend in today's market? How should they look at it? Should they look at the 1 year ROI, the 3 year ROI? What are the parameters?
Um, so to any given entity, you have automation. Right? So you have platforms for every catering department. Like you have HRMS platforms for HR department. You have a CRM for sales and marketing department. You have financial automation platforms, right? So gone are those days where you're trying to kind of retrieve reports and analysis from these platforms that we have. You want an intermediate solution where you kind of train it or orchestrate it so that those informations are being retrieved rather than you doing it. You get into those CRM platforms, you get into the HRMS platform and do it. So CFOs always look at optimizing the platform costs. Now, for example, when it comes to generative AI, platforms, it looks quite heavy on your wallet, but when it comes to deploying, optimizing your workforce automation, optimizing your efficiency in terms of task management,
Yeah.
so those actually save a lot of hours. Like Bionic has actually proven in terms of saving about 1,500 hours in one of the customer use cases that we have done today. It has increased about for 55 to 60% of efficiency on preparing on your meeting preparedness. You don't have to think about how to prepare for these meetings, what is the minutes of meeting, what is the next step and all that, right? So when it comes to that, money is not just about investing on a platform. You're saving money in terms of the hours that you spend, in terms of the operation cost, and that's where generative AI platform comes into play. So the CFO of the world is becoming actually quite smarter in terms of the spend when it comes to budgeting over the year of time, and they realize that it's the time that we have to start investing on generative AI platforms for any given day.
Absolutely. Now or later, every enterprise, every company it has to become a necessity.
Absolutely.
Everybody will switch for every particular function. There will be tools. Like today, if you are an enterprise, you can't avoid SAP, you can't avoid Microsoft, right? Similarly, I think Gen AI will become a necessity and no longer a thing to have. Uh, but in this entire process, the change how the industry is going to adopt it is going to be very beautiful, which is why we do this podcast, because there is so much fake in the social media everywhere across LinkedIn, Instagram, where there is absolutely no clarity in terms of what is real and what is AI generated, and you just get lost. So, which brings me to my other question. Let's say, as an enterprise, if I am adopting Gen AI, what are the specific metrics that prove true AI ROI? I mean, the crux of this question is how do I make sure that ROI is there? Because I want to understand the metrics. Do I understand it from a terms of how much time my team is saving or how much more productive we are getting? What are the metrics that we track to calculate this ROI?
So it's a very good question, Vashit. That's nice. Good you asked me this. But before getting into that, I like to just take one example. Now, for example, so we used to. I'm sure, since we are in the work zone, we we recruit someone. We rely based upon the expertise, and then we kind of create a trust factor for any kind of deployment of for any kind of deliverables that is there by for example, if I take a content writer, I need a content writer. I used to rely on a person who used to work there in the industry for that particular industry, right, and rely on it. Now I can run through this through a generative AI platform, get the get a script created. In fact, we can create a video script, like we've been creating a lot of marketing comic strips, right? To kind of position a platform, and it kind of flawlessly kind of creates a script. What's scene one, what's panel one, what's the response, who are the role plays, and I don't have to kind of double check in terms of grammar checks. I don't have to check whether this it's spelled out right or not, because you rely on these LLMs and not natural language processing models to kind of cater to the kind of human language that we want to have. So the trust factor is actually now it's gone. You don't have to kind of rely or have that second thought saying that should I even check this at another time, in terms of probably it might be better than what you have written. So I'm just putting it in a very lighter note. So that's the kind of trust and reliability that you have in terms of these platforms, the generative AI platforms that I spoke about. Now, in terms of coming to metrics, now what we look at in metrics is now post COVID, a lot of them are been working out of home. So they are either how are you going to track their efficiency and deliverables. So now a lot of organizations have created their own in-house platforms to kind of track their task completions. Now there are tools which does that. If you can track it on a real-time basis. Now, consider you didn't have a generative AI platform. You're kind of working the same ad hoc work on a regular basis on day in and day out. Actually, you're spending a couple of more hours than you're not supposed to spend there. Now you are able to do it by finishing a task maybe in couple just few hours, maybe 3-4 hours in a day. So your task completion is checked out there. So and your performance and key measurables in terms of completion of this particular of your KRAs or KPIs have been catered to the kind of completions that you have in terms of the tasks that you have. So the hours that you reduce, the recruitment or headcount that you have which you don't need anymore, you're reducing. These are the key metrics that it matters when you kind of overboard generative AI platform. Yeah. End of the day, it comes to financial costs. A lot of them kind of look at optimizing stuff. So how do you kind of optimize stuff? Marketing budgets are optimized because your generative AI platform has given the right GTM for you. Your scripting or content writing has optimized, and you're able to deliver a video script or a panel comic strip in a couple of days in a week, where it's ready to be in outreach, right? So that is the metrics that we look at, when we kind of onboard generative AI platform.
Absolutely. As much as it is scary, it is also exciting to see what new roles will evolve, because a lot of these roles will get redundant when I am the leader and I have a particular marketing budget. There are things that I can hire for, and there are things that can be automated now. So we don't need employees for the same. So just to see this change in terms of how the market is going to adopt to it, and how the people who are working regular jobs are going to adopt to this change, is going to be wonderful. And because right now Gen AI is not at stage where I can rely on it completely. It needs some sort of supervision. But I am pretty sure very soon there will come a time, if a model is trained as per my company's data, as per my requirements, and it has been trained in terms of what to do and what not to do, eventually it will get better in terms of it'll hallucinate less, or it'll give us more accurate results.
Absolutely. So it's a myth, basically, Varshit. So, like, for example, I was in a conversation with one of the prospects. Like, I was talking to one of the big group for pitching about a platform, and he was like, are you saying that you're trying to you're going to knock off the department that we were doing so far because you are doing it through your platform? I said, no, that's a myth. We are not. It's a generative AI platform is not kind of switching or substituting anybody's role play at any given point in time. It can never be done. There's always a restriction. The kind of human intelligence that we have, and you have to, somewhere down the lane, you need to have that human intervention. Even though you are relying on the platforms, the AI platforms today, whether it's conversational AI or whether it is predictive AI or descriptive AI, or if it is generative AI, you need to rely on human intervention. You just cannot leave it, with a platform like whatever, like a Bionic or anyone else in the market, because it's orchestrating your work. It's not delivering the work that you're supposed to. It's just orchestrating the work. You are giving the instructions, it is doing it. If you don't give instructions, it could not. It's not happening real time. Like and you probably have to kind of give right instructions. You have to set it, like the way you onboard a resource. You train him, you give him the information, you kind of certify him. He learns it, and then he becomes skillful, and then he takes it up. The only thing that we have a difference here is you are instructing the platform, to the AI world to do it for you, rather than to any human to do it for you, so that you rely on that particular platform. That's the only difference. But it's not kind of substituting anybody's role or taking off anybody's job.
Absolutely, I agree. At this moment, at least, it is not substituting. But in future, do you think it has a potential to substitute a lot of people?
I mean, it's a perception basically, Varshit. So I don't know, but you see, there's always a error in whatever you kind of innovate in the market. Nothing is perfect. Nothing is 100%.
Absolutely.
So we are talking about agentic AI workflows today. Tomorrow we are talking about super agents. We are talking about real-time agents who can just perform without giving instructions. But we never know. Like if you talk about the Google self-driven car, right? It never kicked off initially, right? So there was always a flaw in terms of what was being created.
Right.
So I don't think so. That would happen. It will not obstruct the market.
Got it. Got it. Which brings us to the next round, Darshan, where we talk about the real industry stuff. Given your experience, can you share a use case that has brought a significant impact across industries? We'll talk one by one. We'll talk about healthcare, then we'll talk about BFSI, and then we'll talk about manufacturing. I want to understand one use case in these industries that is driving significant impact across functions, of course.
Got it. So I think, see, with healthcare, I think I spoke about this a little bit on a brief.
Yeah.
Now, when I kind of recollect this on healthcare is quite diversified industry. Because there are different role plays in healthcare. Like you have the specialists, you have you have the clinical trial experts, you have outpatient, you have the staffing, you have the nurses. So when it comes to healthcare, dealing with the outpatient coordination with and tagging the outpatient to the right specialist based upon his medical condition has been it's been quite a challenging use case that we built. In fact, because we had to look into the DCOM image, the CT scan of the patient who comes in, and then it has to kind of book an appointment with a specialist within that institute who's working there. And the platform could do it. They could find a right point in time for the patient to kind of connect with his doctor to kind of take his post checkup recommendation. So that's something that we did in healthcare. When it comes to BFSI, we are working with one of the organizations which kind of does tax returns in US. They have different form types in US. And now when we come to the user who's trying to return, get his tax returns done, the platform actually kind of calculates the delta. It not only looks into the user tax information, but also looks into the delta changes from the government regulators, from the federal bodies, from 2021 to 2024. What are the changes? And that kind of says that 24 there's a change in terms of amendment, and you have to kind of cater to this in your form, to kind of get the tax return done. So it's quite a very interesting project that I'm working on at this point in time, which is an online tax return platform. Manufacturing is again it's again quite diversified because there are different units. Manufacturing has inventory, stock management. How do you kind of look at, like, for example, one of the bottlers of the large large bottlers in North America. We are looking at getting them onboarded for to kind of quantify what is the amount of beverage that has been getting into to that particular city, and how many bottles are to be needed. Kind of statistical data point that we have to build, and then so that you have a proper balance between demand and supply. So that's something that we're working in manufacturing standpoint. Quite interesting ones, But again, I would repeat that to understand, to kind of cater your platform right, you need to understand the industries better.
Absolutely. And which is going to be my next question, Darshan. All these problems across healthcare, you said, the data could be matched with an outpatient's requirements so that they can book an appointment with the right doctor. In BFSI, we can calculate the delta of the tax returns that government has been changing the tax cuts and everything for over a couple of years, and then give you the best solution out there for finance. And for manufacturing, whether you need help with inventory or stock management, or anything else on the shop floor. Now, my question is, all these things seems like they could have been automated before. I mean, these things doesn't sound like something so new is happening that was never possible before. And the way AI is booming right now, Gen AI, Gen AI, I'm pretty sure there is more to it. What is that factor which is separating the AI use cases, the Gen AI, with the autonomy that could have been done earlier as well without AI or without the buzzwords?
If I can answer this in 3 words, one is predictiveness. How do you predictive the right information, right set of information that has to set out? That's one. Second is, to kind of to flawlessly create data points without hazards, without any changes. Like I remember when I was working with ERP, okay, like Essential. When I was working with Essential software, it's an ERP.
Yeah.
So what they do is they deploy it in manufacturing and financial sectors. That's the key industries that they cater to. They have multiple modules that they cater to, and the key in asked by any manufacturer, especially like a market like KSA, which is Saudi market, they're quite advanced in terms of understand predictive analytics. They say they would need a module to kind of predictive what is the stock that is needed for next 2 years, and what is the kind of vendor portfolio that we need to kind of manage those stocks for next 2 years. Quite advanced, quite futuristic thought process. And the CRM couldn't do it, the ERP couldn't do it, because they had their own limitations, because they have the information, they have the data insights, they had the reporting, they had the modules to be catered. What next? So he had to kind of imply AI to do it. And generative AI used to pull this information from large language models, from LLPs to do it for you. So we integrated AI to the ERP to do it for us, and that kind of was a big selling point. So I think that's where it's going, and it will not stop. By the way, we're just talking about AI and generative AI at this point. And tomorrow there might be another buzzword. We never know, because the world is moving very dynamically, right? So, and I think from past 5 years, on a very lighter note, Ashit, I think it is very dynamically changing. And not let the models be, or technologies be, or the platforms be. It's quite dynamic. We never know what's going to happen in 2026.
Absolutely.
Wait and watch.
I agree 1%. 1%. As much as it is exciting, again, on the lighter note, it is scary as well.
It is scarier, absolutely. I mean, nobody predicted COVID to come in and create this kind of, obstruction. So COVID, when it kind of created, and I mean, when it was there, would you and me would have thought we would have had a hybrid model culture coming into play? Never, right? So that's become a kind of a trendsetter. So something like that, yeah.
All right, which brings us to the next round, ready or not. So here our goal is to assess whether the enterprises, Darshan, today are ready for the Gen AI adoption or not. So how do you truly know if a company is ready?
Any company who kind of so what's been simplified on a day in and day out basis by the platform what I am working today is a very basic stuff. What we're trying to do is reducing repetitive tasks that anybody is doing, kind of streamline it at one go, helping to kind of organize your meeting preparedness as you go, creating a process template for you so that you don't have to create the process over and over again. If you think about it, it's very basics which I'm talking about, right? We all want to kind of create a process which is templatized, and you kind of run it with you. You need your meetings to be organized well. Create what are the next action items so that you don't have to write it on your notebook, or write it on a word pad. So these are the very simplified things. Now, if you think about it, any given organization in the market needs that. So you don't have to look for the right company or right entity or enterprise who would need a generative AI platform. Everybody needs it to save his time, to save his money, to kind of streamline his workflows. You know,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And when we're talking about Gen AI, uh, I mean, readiness in terms of if I do not have my data systems, very well documented, if there is nothing that I have personal which is very well orchestrated, would it really make sense for me to onboard or have a Gen AI which is specific to my enterprise?
Yes, I think yes, because see, it's default set on your platforms today, on your devices today. When you're writing an email, you have a prompt saying that you want to use AI. When you're trying to post something on social, you have a prompt to saying that you want to refine your post, and it actually comes up with relevant hashtags for you today, where you don't have to kind of search for those hashtags and post it, right? So I think that's something that is needed at any given point in time to kind of ensure that repeating again in terms of relying on the trust factor, so that you have to double check whether it is written wrong or right. It has a perception. It has understood you well, and it kind of picks it up, the way you're thinking. So yeah.
Got it. Makes sense. Which brings us to the governance because, I mean, as much as we were all concerned about our security before the AI world, I think that concern has gone over 100 times because, I mean, there is just everything that we are sharing today, everything, there's nothing personal left anymore. And the more AI will come into use, the more data will be floating around for every personal, every enterprise. So, as much as adopting this technology is important, it's also important to stay safe. So, in regulated industries, we'll talk about Darshan, especially healthcare and BFSI. How do you approach governance and compliance when deploying AI?
See, I think that's the, like I mentioned, this is the objective of the platform that we are working on. It's a B2B enterprise platform, and the USP that we're kind of putting it as a front runner is own your data. You own your GenAI stack. We don't own it. You run the way you want it to. It
Oh,
doesn't sit. It sits within your Wi-Fi wall. It sits within your VPC network. We don't have access to it. In fact, when we kind of deploy the platform in these industries, we give them the rule book, we do the deployment, and they use the documents and processes what's in there. We don't know what's happening in there. That's a very important, and I think that's the way forward, because I don't want to name them, but there are few AI industries in the market recently which has gone and scammed. They're highly invested and funded by large enterprises, and what they have been claiming is, they were an AI generated organization, but it was actually humans doing it for you at the back end.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, and that's happened, and that's the news. And in fact, another story is, there's this organization who has tied up with a large entity who is into communication collaboration platform, and the AI is locked. The user cannot use their own information back because the AI is locked. So how do you control your data? How do you control your information when it's being used? It has been used well, but how are you kind of retrieving it back? Are you getting it back? Is it safe? We never know. So I think that's where we have to kind of create a benchmark, set your limitations. So for anything there is a limitation. You need to set your limitations right, so that you don't overboard it, by using any given AI at any given point in time. So to answer this, I think in one word, I think this is the buzzword, and it's a way to go for any AI before it becomes quite hazardous, or quite scary, like the way you mentioned in future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Darshan, now this one question is not something I wanted to ask in the first place. It's a very layman question. Uh, can you explain it in a very easy manner for me to understand? Let's say if I'm an enterprise today adopting generative AI or agentic AI, I can just go to AI. If I have my processes well documented, I can just go to any AI tool and I can also ask them, what and how I should be doing things to automate this stuff. This is my desired outcome, right? And why Quantify, where Quantify comes into the picture, of course, you know better, and I'll just come to you for an answer. Where Quantify would come into a picture is actually making sure that everything that you are doing is secure, is hosted on your own cloud. You're not sharing more than what is required to. You own the systems, right? Otherwise, you don't know where what is happening, and you might end up losing access to your personal data. Now, can you explain it for us that how Quantify coming in will be different from me as an enterprise is going ahead and using different Gen AI tools that are already available in the market and using the agentic AI flows that are already available?
Uh, it's not cloud. It's not a shared cloud environment that we are using here,
Yeah.
Varshit. And then if you look at the way it is now, Google has come up with their own platform called Agent Space. They are also doing the same stuff.
Hmm.
Let me tell you a bit about Quantify before I come to this. So Quantify
Please.
is an SI. It's a system integrator
Okay.
where Quantify work with vertical partners, marquee partners like Google Space, which is Google Cloud partners. We work with AWS. We work with NVIDIA, Snowflake, to name few. And over the period of time, it's been a decade. It's there in the market, and it's always been a services industry. The key portfolio of Quantify was data engineering, MI, AI, ML, cloud solutioning, and so on and so forth.
Mhm.
Product has evolved from last 4 years, and the Bionic that we spoke about is actually been funded by GCP, which is basically the Google Cloud partners, who is
Okay.
actually owning Agent Space. So we are actually competing with our own partners at a given point in time. So we are
Okay.
now we were part of Google Next, which happened in Las Vegas recently, and we are not allowed to name Bionic in Google Next, because agent space, right? So we didn't want to have a named platform there, but we were there. We had a footprint there. Now, the reason I've kind of got into this is basically because the platform what we are trying to create has comprehensively built over and above what agent space or any or a partners have created. Because I spoke about agentic workflow, I spoke about personas. There's something called persona which I didn't speak about, which is basically I can create a persona like my CEO of my organization persona,
Okay.
and I can ask the persona to kind of respond to any given query. What the
Okay.
persona does is he responds like the way the CEO of an organization responds.
Okay.
And we have created that persona for any of the use cases that we have today. So if I want to get any answers today, the way CEO speaks, I can use this persona to do it.
Got it.
So there are a few capabilities that we have kind of created in terms of in terms of the capabilities that we have.
I'm so sorry, but I'll just go ahead and ask this question again because I don't think I have a clear picture in my head why Quantify above uh, Google agents.
Because of the features. Now we don't have the muscle there. Let me be frank. There's no muscle in there. Now Google has used muscle to kind of push it in the market.
Okay.
So Bionic, so the platform that we work in doesn't have the muscle. But if you actually look at the kind of creatives, the kind of positioning that we have, it's quite intuitive. When we were in Google Next, we were not supposed to be, mentioning Bionic there in the platform. Agent Space had their space there. But trust me, whoever came to meet Agent Space and they wanted to see another solution which was Bionic right next door, when they spoke to us, they're overwhelmed. They wanted to connect with us rather than connect with agent space. So, I think gone are the days that, kind of brand imprint creates a major motor.
Absolutely.
It's all about how you deliver it. Even today, 60 to 70% of the customers that we have on Bionic are word of mouth. It's just they get the right vibes, and we are trying to set our own pipeline, create our own prospective pipeline, and we are delivering it. It's not heavy lifting by financial modes. We are not doing heavy outbound or top of the funnel branding. Nothing as such. It's pure word of mouth, organic growth that we have on Bionic. Only reason is because of features and capabilities that we have. The features which you don't find it in any other players in the market today.
Can you tell us a couple of features, like 1, 2, 3, however many you want to name? What is it?
So, okay, in a very use case, very simplified, I'll tell you. When you have the prompt, right? When you search something, you might have searched in other. I don't want to mention that, but you might have searched something in one of the prompts. Bionic has a capability where you can filter and toggle between whether you want to search it within your own drive. Like you have your connectors, you're connected to Google Drive, you're connected to Microsoft Teams. There are about 37 connectors Bionic has capability of connecting. Now, when you connect, when you kind of connect to Google Drive, you want to search within, say, Versus folder, and you want to get responses only from Versus folder. You can do that, or you are part of a larger group, and you want to set your prompts from that particular group. You can do that. You want to switch off your toggle of your drives, and you want to search from web, which becomes your co-pilots of the world, right? You can do that. And the way I said, you want to get the prompt the way your CEO speaks or your financial advisor speaks. You can create persona on top of it. Plus, you can create workflow automations. You can create skills. You can create multiple skill patterns. It's like an algorithm. It's like a pattern. You can create a pattern. You can create a skill. You can create an agent on top of it, and you can ask the agent to orchestrate that skill that is being given to it. So it's kind of overwhelmed and created product. Unfortunately, it's not spoken very high on the market, and I'm sure it's going to do it in the next couple of maybe 12 to 24 months.
Absolutely, I have no doubt. I was checking your website, and I was in awe. I mean, who is it that these guys are competing with? They have a solution for everything. I mean, now, one last question around this topic, I promise. When we place Quantify and when we place different players horizontally in different areas, let's say there is Google agents, there is generative AI platforms, or there is N8N for automation. What is Quantify's value proposition in this case? Is it that we do all these things better than these platforms who are doing it individually, or we are more concerned about your security and data and compliances and giving you the system that you own? What is it that's more important as a value proposition for Quantify? If you could choose one and then relate the two.
Sure. Just a step back, Bionic is not the only platform that Quantify looks into today. There's another platform called Codera. What Codera does is it's an AI-driven code-based platform. It's like you set the prompt. For any developers, and you can create an entire code base. That's Codera for you. There's another platform called Docify. Now, Docify, what it does is any semi-structured, unorganized document. Usually, you'll find it in insurance sector, where you have a lot of claim processes. You have claim forms coming in quite unorganized. You want to structure it and kind of create a comprehensive output out of the document. Docify comes in there. There's another platform called collective.cx. Now, collective.cx is basically your conversational AI. It's your chatbot for your finance system. Like it doesn't ask for your OTP, it doesn't ask for your card information to kind of do a transaction. It kind of ask quite intuitive questions, and then sets your transaction, maybe transfer to someone else, or kind of get your amount back. So these are platforms, and Bionic sits on top of it. So Bionic is a cumulative effort of all these platforms that is there at Quantify, over and above that, which is sitting in there. Now, and if you look at that, it's on a wholesome. It is a larger picture. It is a comprehensive platform, and top of it, it is secured. It's not that we own it. It's like we are handing out to you. You can name it the way you want it. You don't have to name it Bionic. You can name it the way you want it, and you can use within your environment. So that's the USP. So it's like you own the platform. It's not that we're trying to build a brand like Bionic. We are saying it's GenAI stack. The stack is sitting in your organization, in your environment. You own it. You use it the way you want to use it. That's the USP.
Got it. Understood. Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Which brings us to the next round, Darshan. We have 3 more rounds pending. Just give me 1 second. I'll put this machine on charging mode.
Sure.
Do you feel the need of a break?
I think it's okay. No problem.
Yeah, we can go.
I hope there's no disturbance for you in the background. Is this fine? There's some construction happening at the top.
I know there's construction going on, but it's completely fine. I think we'll be able to remit it out.
Oh, great. Yeah, I was a little bothered because it was bothering me a lot.
Yeah, don't worry. We have got a good designing team.
Thank you.
They'll take care of it. All right. Moving on to the round 7, Darshan, where we talk about agents or assistants. Now, there are 2 things. One is autonomous agents. When we talk about it, how are enterprises really deploying and using autonomous AI agents today? And we can talk about a particular industry where you have completed a project recently. How was that particular enterprise really deploying and using autonomous AI agent?
Very interesting project which we have just commenced with here. We created 100 agents in 100 days. I mean, that was the objective. And this was for the biggest cybersecurity firm. You might find the podcast as well there. We have a podcast with the product leader. It's a company called Trellix, which is earlier it was called McAfee. So McAfee is our customer. Now, so the way we created is the organization wanted to have complete agentic workflow. They wanted agents for each and everything, for any workflow that they wanted to create, and they wanted to kind of create these agents. Now we are kind of going one step ahead and trying to create this as a product roadmap. Not far enough is to build your own agent by yourself. You don't have to rely on us. You can create the agents the way you want to create it, and you can use it. So that's how the enterprises are deploying these agents to create it. Now, very interesting part internally is I am not doing a headcount or recruiting to my own team. I have 5 agents working for me for different aspects. So I have a content writer who works with me. I have a market analyst who's working with me. I have a social media marketing expert. So these are the agents which has been created, and they're kind of orchestrating to what I asked them to do. So that's how the autonomous agents have been comprehensively driven in the market.
Absolutely, and that's a very interesting use case on a company-wide level. I can imagine projects like these where for an enterprise they would just ask you to build an AI agent for everything. So there is not a discussion in terms of what all you get started with, but what all you can figure out along the way that can be automated using agents.
Absolutely. Right.
Nice. Wonderful. And with all the hype that's there in the market, where do autonomous agents truly work, and where is this concept still largely overhyped?
So just is, I think the way it's hyped is, like the way I mentioned, is kind of substituting to what any department or operating unit is doing today. It's overhyped. I think everybody kind of feels a threat. So when you have these layoffs, when you have this news, and I don't know, for some reason they kind of relate it, saying that it's because of these agents. You have created these AIs, and these AIs are killing us. I mean, that's not the way it is. I think, I think we have to start. Rather, I would suggest that, get your hands burned using these agents, learn about AI, understand it further, so that you kind of fine tune your work and get better of yourself. Rather than thinking the other way around, that if I start using these agents or AIs, I might lose my job. No, that's something that's overhyped, unfortunately. So I think so that's where I feel agents have, it's, and agents where it has truly worked, it's truly worked in industries and areas which are quite quite data sensitive and quite comprehensively driven organizations, like the healthcare industries that I spoke about, financial sectors that I spoke about, right? When you kind of get these agents to industries as such, and it has worked well, I think that's a win, because they are very quite sensitive industries in the market. And and trust factor is the major factor when you kind of speak to companies under healthcare or financial sectors. They don't trust, they don't rely fast, especially when you cater to Saudi markets. When you kind of cater to the Saudi markets, I think you have to onboard them by speaking to them 10 times about agentic AI, saying that don't worry, because I think they always believe on-premise model. I don't know for what, but they still sit on on-premise model. And Essentio had the challenge to kind of, Essentio, in fact, the platform that Essentio software is basically a company of 3Infotech, which is ICICI.
Oh,
they
I didn't know
evolved.
that.
Yeah. So 3Infotech kind of evolved, and they renamed it as Essentio software. And 3Infotech, which is ICICI, they had to let off the technology part, because I think that time the RBI had some regulations that they cannot have a technology firm, bank cannot have a technology firm, and they had to let off 3Infotech, and the IP was taken care by different ventures. And the name of the ERP was called Orion, initially. And that's where ICICI has a good grip in Saudi market, Middle East market. They're very strong there. And we had legacy customers who've been there with Orion for 20 years. A customer sitting with you for 20 years is like great. And with the new thought process, which is the current ERP is named as One ERP, and it's all cloud. It's moved into cloud, and now we are trying to migrate the on-premise model to cloud in Saudi. They were not. They absolutely don't trust cloud. They don't trust data getting floated out of them, and AI getting massively hit to Saudi market, KSA market, and Dubai. It's a big win, because that means a lot of people still rely on that's the way, that's the way forward. I think that's the biggest win for AI. Yeah,
absolutely, I agree, and very well answered in terms of a couple of things I learned in terms of Essentio's background, and also how companies who are really skeptical, especially Middle East that you mentioned, about the data security and skeptical about the cloud, believing in autonomy model. I think all of these are amazing insights.
right.
Then we got to talk about whether me being an enterprise, I should build or just buy from you. So, I mean, I'm not gonna just go over questions as well. You just tell me. I think you've talked about this a lot before, but if a company is committed to building AI solutions versus partnering with vendors, what are the key metrics that they should compare before making a decision?
See, I think I like to take a use case here, Varshit, like from marketing, staying in the marketing background, right?
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, it's become a common thumb rule that I don't know, maybe the world that I have worked in the past, in 20 years, whatever,
Yeah.
that you want to onboard an agency for anything. Whether you want to create a website, you want to onboard an agency. Whether you want to create, a digital marketing campaign, you want to onboard a digital marketing agency, work with them. So you work on time and material basis. You work
Yeah.
on different model with them. You work, and what happens is I mean I'm trying to be frank here since it's a podcast. So when you kind of work with these agencies, they're trying to drag a lot of deliverables. Reason being is because they are also running a business. They're also
Right.
trying to make a money out of you, and you're also trying to get maximum out of you. So, which you're supposed to kind of deliver 3 months, it takes 6 months, but you get it gets delivered end of the day, right? And when you kind of work on your in-house solution, like an AI solution, like we are talking about for a couple of hours, maybe an hour now, and we think that you create your own digital marketing analyst agent out of it, and you want to kind of deliver whatever you want to do in terms of GTM, and he does that for you, right? So which is better for you, right? You are spending on the platform. I don't deny that you are spending on on a capex cost in terms of building a platform to you, but end of the day you're getting your output done in a couple of hours rather than spending 6 months contract, getting it renewed for next 6 months, running it, and then you decide, no, let me change the agency, it's not working the way you want to work, let me change it, switch it, and all, right? So that traditional mode is completely gone. I don't think that's going to happen anymore further. It's that's and yeah, I've seen that happening as well. Literally seen that happening as well. So in-house, your own skills, your own talent, you orchestrating the AI, you orchestrating your work done, the kind of work that you need. Rest, you do the heavy lifting. I think your job is done for the day. I think so. To answer that, your first question of whether you have to commit to building an AI solution versus partnering with vendors, it's, I think, straightforward for me. It's building AI solutions.
So are you saying that agencies as a space is going to take a dip?
They are venturing into different things. I mean, I know a few of the agencies who's venturing, thinking that it's not sustainable anymore. I have seen agencies who's trying to create their own product out of it.
What is it that they were doing before, and what is it that they're doing now? Can you give us a picture for us to understand better?
So there was I don't want to name them because it's not right. I think the agency which I was working for, they were a creative agency. They were delivering creative templates for brand teams, brand imprints, brand collaterals, brand book, basically.
Okay.
We kind of onboarded them for some time. I think this was when I was working with Mbibe. Mbibe is the learning platform for. In fact, Mbibe is now owned by Geo.
Oh, okay.
Which is a tech platform. So these guys, they knew that they're not going to sustain anymore, because slowly AI started. In fact, AI was there at the time of Empire. I use this. So Reliance owns this chatbot called Haptic, which is an AI chatbot. It's conversational AI. So we onboarded Haptic, and it has prerequisite questions to kind of get into your course materials, to know what are your learning objectives are, and so on and so forth. And they knew that they're not going to sustain. They're smart people, so they knew that, and they kind of ventured and created their own platform, which is called an ABM platform. So any where you do account-based marketing. So you kind of onboard that platform. You have your customer, you have your TAL given to them. You have your key customers that you want to target them. It will create comprehensive drip campaign. Trust me, they build it in 3 months. They build the ABM platform in 3 months, and that has become the primary objective, the primary source of business. And creative has taken a backspace. So I think even events, if I talk about events, right? So you have event agencies. You'll see a lot of virtual events happening today.
Yeah.
You probably don't want to have any in-person events or trade events. You have virtual events happening.
Yeah.
And a lot of these virtual events have AI moderators.
Correct.
Right? So these are the kind of venturing these creative agencies are getting into slowly and so forth. Otherwise, they would not sustain. It's very hard. Either it is headcount, or your AI solution, or your agencies. The headcount is needed, because you need someone to kind of orchestrate these AI platforms. But agencies is an option. It's good to have, but not must have kind of.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think depends a lot on the functions as well. Where there are functions that where you would want to have a complete control of what goes out. Let's say designing, branding. I think that all that stuff should not be outsourced to the agencies where you're representing your brand or you're representing yourself. And there are other parts, like you said, just designing the ABM campaign and running it in the first place. All those parts, yes, of course, can be taken help from someone. Now, again, going a little
The
off.
reason,
Go ahead.
sorry, so the reason why anybody onboards an agency is also because of time bound, because everybody wants to kind of be up the game, right? So they don't want to kind of learn it, onboard it, and do it. So what's quick is try to get some agency who's there in the market, give a dump and do it. That's where everybody thinks of, to get the agencies, and that's the hook for any agency. They know that these guys can't do it. They are going to come for me, knocking our doors. So I mean that's the business game. I mean that's how it's been happening so far.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And also, going a little offbeat again, how do you place things? Let's compare the two. You come from a marketing background. You have now what, 15 years of experience in marketing?
18, yeah.
18.
18 years, yeah.
And all B2B?
Completely B2B, yeah.
All right. Let's hear it from you. Your views on the physical roundtable, which were the go-to for the enterprises, and now virtual roundtables are getting adopted now. Can you compare the two? If you as a company would want to invest, let's say 10 lakh in an event, where is it that you would see more better results? What would you prefer?
See, when it comes to roundtable, it depends upon the panel also, Worship. Like if it's a very interesting panel, I think physical roundtables even today it works well. In fact, even the ROI that we get from the kind of leads that we generate is through in-person events, not even trade events. In-person events, we call them, have a close panel conversation, we get that. It's even today it works. Virtual, it depends on the kind of platform that you cater to, whether it is a public platform or it's exclusive that you are trying to do a virtual roundtable. It matters because there are certain platforms that I have worked in terms of these virtual events, webinars, roundtables, where they just kind of they it gets delivered and it gets archived, and then it's up to you to do the outreach, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you're doubling your game. Rather you kind of do the in-person event, you get in person, get connected with the person so that you have that human connect, you speak to them and take it forward. I think podcasts and virtual, roundtables works in person. I think it's always better. I think I watch a lot of podcasts even today. That's one of the key thing that I always spend a lot of time, because I like the way people communicate. I like the way it becomes very in person. It's not like an interview.
Absolutely, I agree. So here I am assuming that physical roundtables and physical podcast for the win.
Absolutely, yeah. Again, depends upon the panel. If it's not a great panel, then I think virtual is fine. And if virtual will only work if the topic sits on over and top of the person whom you're speaking to. So it depends. So if if the topic is something that is taking dominance, then virtual works. And if it's the phrase, then if it's in person, yeah.
Absolutely. And my take on this thing is, of course, physical are great because the kind of human connections that you can build over a physical meeting is just not possible if you do it on a machine. So of course, there the physical roundtables takes an edge. but couple of pointers in favor of virtual events, whether podcast or roundtables. Why we also do it virtually right now, of course, a little bit of resource crunch, but I'm gonna edit this part out.
Well,
But other than that, it gives you access to everybody around the world. You can speak with anybody you want to at any given point, and it is more about, first of all, having the right conversation, right,
right.
and then distributing that conversation. After a physical event has happened, there is only a limited people I was able to connect with a
Hmm.
virtual podcast. Now, after that podcast is done, this will go into post production, and 15 different content pieces are going to come out of this, which will include reels, which will include white papers, blogs, shorts, and whatnot. Now,
Got it.
this material I can use for my outreach, for my ABM campaigns, because nobody likes to hear a "hi, I'm selling this whether you want it or not" kind of a message as a sales entrance. But
Hmm.
people are really open to hearing, okay, what's new in my industry.
That's what I said. If it's if the predominance is in terms of the topic and the technology of interest that is there, then they would not consider if it's an in-person, and they don't look into it. Even if you kind of convert this podcast with just a voice-over podcast without not showing the faces, it would always work. Yeah, they want to listen, not see. But if it's a face-based podcast, if it's someone, a renowned person that you're going to talk to, they would like to have an in-person podcast.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100% agree. Which brings us to more or less the last rounds for this podcast, Darshan. What is one AI buzzword that you truly hate?
Substituting your job, or taking off my job.
So after this podcast, we know that you don't think it's real. No jobs are gonna be taken away.
Absolutely no. Absolutely no.
Got it. Got it. And a recent unexpected win at work.
Unexpected AI win at work is something that I mean, there was one request that just came across for the healthcare, which I spoke about. And what happened is we couldn't deliver it because there were some dependency on APIs for that,
Okay.
and as a public API we wanted to do it. And that's an inside story that there was these tokens, and it, the Jugaad Bandi you speak
Uh-huh.
about.
Yeah.
So we kind of created token, and when the demo was happening, we kind of enabled the token, and it was a 1 hour conversation, and in 30 minutes the token expired, and the API was not triggering the signal, so the actual information that we wanted written was not happening.
Okay.
And we kind of managed it, we spoke and we kind of managed it. So, and it went on to be a win, so we won the customer even after that, even after that failure, which customer couldn't even realize that it happened in the back end. So I think that was an unexpected win for me.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. And lately, because there's just been so much AI everywhere. You pick a newspaper, it's all about AI. You pick a John Oliver show, it's all about it. Everywhere. I mean, AI is just everywhere, which is why I've been taking a couple of moments off for myself, and I've been going back hearing Kishore Saab, Jagjit Singh, just to stay in touch with reality. That gives me reality check. Okay.
That you're in the actual world,
Yeah.
that you're in the real world. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. What is your getaway?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm fortunate that I'm in this industry, to say, because that's where the industry is going for next, at least for 10-15 years.
Absolutely.
I would see at least for next 10 years, and I'm fortunate. So I'm kind of capitalizing major from whatever I can learn from this particular industry, from this technology. But again, I'm a person who kind of like to see the 80s videos and music that I listen to, which will never go off. It's always evergreen. So I think so. I have a balance of both. So I make sure that this doesn't dominate my real world. my time spent with my family at least.
Absolutely. And when you're spending that time, what do you like to have? A coffee or a chai?
I'm a coffee guy because I hail from place where we grow coffee. So I'm from Coorg.
Oh, Bangalore, my what do you call it? This coffee journey. I have been drinking coffee for I don't know how long now.
Right.
But Bangalore, I met a friend who had this small sort of it's a manual machine. You just put a paper across, which filter coffee basically, and I it's just a very normal. You're using some small tools, and how that coffee tasted. Oh my god! And there my coffee journey began. Then I'm using AeroPress, I'm using this, I'm using that, and exploring different flavors. Now I'm a full-time coffee guy. But yes, Bangalore was the beginning of, just enhancing my buds for coffee.
Nice, yeah. And I hail from a place called Coorg. I don't know if you're known. It's a hill
Oh,
station, so it's a coffee land. So
yes.
yeah,
I've been to Coorg. What a beautiful place. Love it.
thank you.
Now, which is the last segment. We just want to hear the final truth out of this segment, which is a blunt advice for CXOs of enterprises on AI projects. Right? What is one thing that they should absolutely stop doing right away with their AI initiatives in the company? Is there anything which is a red flag if they're doing it by themselves? This is one thing that they should definitely not do.
I think if it is trying to get there, if you're talking about CXOs, if you're trying to do an audit or if you're trying to do a P&L of your organization, and you're trying to kind of report this to your board of directors, I think just take a step back.
Okay.
Let not use AI for now at least, because you are relying on your financial efforts to
Correct.
an organization. So let's not do that. We are not still there unless and until it proves the right information. I would not say it would not, but it's very sensitive when you're trying to take it to a board of advisors or your VCs to say that this is our profit, this is our EBITDA for this particular year. So let's not use AI there.
I agree, 100%. And what is your single biggest lesson from deploying AI at scale?
Our biggest lesson is that there's something that you have to keep digging deep into it, still learn a lot, and generative AI is not the last buzzword of the environment. I think it's still there. You have to kind of you have to think 10 months well in advance what's next for the AI, because as I somewhere in between I said that things are moving very dynamically. So you don't have to let surprises come in well in ahead, so that you are well equipped or well prepared. So you have to kind of be well advanced especially when it comes to AI.
Very well answered. I agree, 100%. Darshan, this is the last round that we do. It's called the role reversal round, where you get to become the host and I be the guest. So you get to ask me any question, one question that you personal, professional, feel free to shoot it. Take your time to think about it. And yes.
Sure. So I think first, before asking you a question, I would say, Varshit, you are in the right set of mode. I love people do podcasts. I watch a lot of podcasts that happens all around. I would like to ask maybe two questions. One more, very professional in terms of what's your objective in terms of these podcasts when it comes to MadWin AI. What's your roadmap? More than not the objective, I'd like to know what's your 12 months roadmap from this podcast. Second, what I'd like to ask is, what's your personal take when it comes to AI? And you can be as frank as possible.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think number one, if I am to be honest, I have always been a guy. Lately, I'm realizing the importance of planning my years, but I've always been a guy who is just on the go. I quit my job without any security, then started a business. Then every 3 months, I'm pivoting first of all, we are a webinar company, then we are a sales agency, then we are a marketing agency. Now we're doing podcast and AI workflow automations. And in 1.5 years of business, every 3 months or 4 months, we pivot. And the entire team has been so, nice, along with, whatever the ideologies we sit, discuss, have these discussions among ourselves. Okay, this is where we are, this is where we need to go. Let's stick with this. So I don't have a really 12-month roadmap per se, but I do have a vision with Madwin AI podcast. What we do want to do is, there is so much fluff, so much misinformation around the space of AI, where it is creating a lot of dilemma in terms of what is it that I should get my hands on to save my career, to save my job, to be actually come out of this as a champion and not be left behind, because I've already invested a lot in everything that I would have done so far, my education, my personal upbringing, right? And then one day AI comes and people tell me I'm no longer relevant. So I think that is the number one reason why I got started, because amongst all this fluff, there is actually great things happening. And to get those great things out in front of the CXOs, out in front of business owners, out in front of people who are seeking jobs or doing their jobs, what is it that are the actual real time applications and use cases on ground? Let's forget everything else. Let's hear it from the people who are doing it and people who are experiencing it from the front. So that is the vision, to kill all the fluff and kill all the bullshit around AI and talk about what's actually happening. Now, when we talk about the second part, we all talked about the roadmap. Then the second part was, can you tell me again? I just got so emotional with
So what's your real take? What's your real take about AI? What do you think about AI as whether it's what's pros and cons?
I think if we talk about the AI industry developing at large, I see a lot of changes happening in terms of a lot of things that we do today will no longer be relevant. Lots of them. Like everything that I am doing, everybody, I think the future looks something like this. Every single person will have their personalized AI assistant, which will be trained on everything that they are doing, which will record everything that they're doing. I mean, for God's sake, there are tools available already in the market which are doing this, right? But it will happen at a scale where everything that is happening with me is being recorded. So again, security becomes a very big concern, but everybody will have their own personalized GPT, and with their own personalized GPT, they're going to keep evolving in terms of whatever they need. The first place they go to is to talk to AI. Have you seen that movie called Her?
I've seen that, yes.
So I see that becoming very much a reality. I mean, not at a scale as same, but I see that becoming a reality. So the pro is everything is going to improve in terms of productivity, in terms of how I am performing, what I am doing. But I think the con is I will become really sad, because the human interactions are, first everything goes virtual, and then comes AI. So instead of going to a friend and talking about, oh man, I said I love you on the first date, to going on Chat GPT and telling Chat GPT, oh fuck up. Where do I go from
That
here?
is
How
true.
do I do
Yeah,
this?
yeah. That's
So
true.
personal relationships are going to be affected on a scale that we are not seeing right now. And the second thing is, this entire security bit, it'll just no longer feel that, eventually as you grow up, you want to be a man or a woman with content, right? You want to have certain set of beliefs. I think that beliefs line is going to be very thin going into the future if things continue to grow at the same pace. It will be slow, but I kind of see it happening.
That is true. I think what I fear about AI is right is screen time, because already there's so much of screen time, and just think that tomorrow for everything you had AI, and you want to use anything for anything and everything for AI. I mean,
Yeah,
your next generation kids, they would either be on your system, on your mobile, on television, or whatever devices that comes up. Innovative.
absolutely.
They're always there. And where are you going to even probably have AI girlfriends and boyfriends tomorrow? We never know. They don't want to have the real saying that why do I have to kind of go through this trouble of breakups? Let me, instead of it, let me break up with an AI.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Much easier, no fluff again.
No fluff again.
Crazy, crazy.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful session with you, Darshan. I had a great time. And, out of all the podcasts I've done so far, I think this is one of the podcasts where I've learned a lot of things, lots of things. And how was your experience on the podcast?
I was uh, I was skeptical at the initial because of first the sound that was happening right on the top floor.
Huh?
But you answered it that you'll take care of that. But otherwise, I think it was really. I learned a lot from this podcast. In fact, as I was speaking, I was actually learning. So so that had helped me. For a long, I was not kind of self-learning from what I've been delivering so far. So you helped me do that.
Thank you so much. That is a pleasure, and that is what I tell who I speak with about everything. Uh, uh, the best clarity I get out of my own thoughts is when I just vent it out. And you are doing 100 other things, but when you actually say it out loud, you actually get answers to all your problems. You actually know what to do.
And that's why the podcast has become a hit. So the interviews are like, it's like a prerequisite. You have your questions, you know what has to be answered. Your answer is also been tailored the way you have to respond back. Podcast concept is not that. So I think that's why that's been happening quite well. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you a funny story. When we started this podcast,
Right.
I think it was second or the third podcast, I really had a couple of things going, which is why I was not able to prepare a very good questionnaire beforehand to be shared with the guest.
Right.
Earlier, we used to share a questionnaire, or there is absolutely no problem in sharing the questionnaire beforehand, but earlier we used to do it. One day I missed it. So the person came in and we were just having this conversation. That person was Ankit. He's the owner of agarbatti company. They do 800 Z Black.
Uh,
So he came in and then he's sitting in a bar and we are having this conversation. And that conversation, it just felt so natural. I mean, not for the bar reason, of course, but it felt so natural, so amazing that I didn't even have to stick to the questions that I prepared. The conversation just happened.
it was not predefined questions. He never had a heads up, is it? Okay.
Nothing.
Okay.
There's just conversation happening with a guy who is doing such good things and growing in India, expanding internationally, and just with a lot of content. So when that conversation started happening, it just kept happening for 1.5 hours, and there was no questionnaire absolutely prepared. So we made this a thing. Okay, we will prepare because that's a job to do, but let us not share the exact questions with the guests. Let them come, let them think on the standpoint, and then answer a couple of things which will not only give them clarity but us understanding of what's real. Again, what we are trying is just to ignore the fluff.
That is true. Yeah, I think the best answers comes out when it's unprepared. Most of the
Absolutely.
time. Yeah, it comes unprepared. So I just I just saw that podcast with Z Black which you just sent me. So when you have your podcast, created, do you have any persona defined? Like because that's a agarbatti. I mean, you must be having some vision of that kind of audience or
Yes.
guests that you want to talk to, right? So how do you decide that?
So we are gonna divide it into 3-4 different categories. The number one category is for enterprises, where we are breaking down AI use cases for enterprises. And in this category, there are two kind of people who will come in. One is companies like Quantify, and one is companies like a typical healthcare company, let's say Max Healthcare.
Hmm.
Right. So one standpoint of view, we are gonna get answers to what are the developments,
Right.
And from the other, the CEO of Max Healthcare, we gonna understand what is it that they're actually implementing
From the AI standpoint.
from the AI standpoint, of course.
Okay.
Right? So these are the two things.
So you're
And
connecting the dots. One is the provider and the other one the user. Okay.
that's a tagline that we put under our logo, connecting the dots.
Connecting the dots. Yeah. And
Yes.
and but where does Zplac come in play then?
So Z Black came into the picture when we just started off this podcast. I just wanted to sit with people who are doing really good revenue and understand from them how businesses are done. Right. So we are going to continue doing that. We are going to put a bit of AI flavor into it going ahead. So it will come into this enterprise section only. In that podcast, we did not talk about AI.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. But going forward, every podcast we do, the center standpoint of view is going to be about AI, where we are just going to try to understand the business processes first, and then we talk about, okay, how do we automate this? So this is the first series of our podcast where we are just uncovering with people and companies like Quantify, like yourselves, what is it that is being developed from a core technology standpoint of view.
Understood. Okay.
Once we
Got
know
it.
a couple of things about this, we're gonna enter this space where we talk about what is okay. All these developments are already there. What is it that you are actually using on ground?
But is Zplac like I'm just trying to understand, is it tech savvy? I mean, do they use no. It's
Not
pure
at all.
it's a
Not
pure business game. Yeah.
pure business game. That's what we want to do. As this segment goes forward, we're gonna bring pure business play who are doing 1,000 crores, 2,000 crores, 5,000 crores, 10,000 crores in revenue, but they're not really excited about AI. They will be definitely, but this has to start somewhere. So
Got it.
we're gonna understand their processes, their business functions, and then we're
Right.
gonna brainstorm with them. Once we know what all is possible, then we'll be in a position to brainstorm with them. Okay, this things we can do. Would you be open to doing it?
Got it. Understand.
That is the goal of this podcast, which I think in Quantify's purview also. Let's say you host a podcast and you invite companies or CXOs of McAfee, companies like McAfee, and you sit with them. You have a 1.5 hour conversation, which is very natural around what is going on in the industry. And then in the same podcast together, you brainstorm of what is it that can be done versus, I mean, what can be done versus what can be put in the roadmap of future. I
True.
mean,
True.
I don't think it's good to say that there's anything that can't be done. So either things can be done today or things can be put into the roadmap for the future.
Absolutely. Makes sense. Yeah. I think most of the podcasts they have prerequisite questions created. Like I myself created a fireside chat when it happened with Trellix for between the product leader and Trellix CTO, and that was well defined to understand what they wanted to speak and all that. So when you have a broadcast so raw, the way we are talking, I think it's the best comes out of it most of the time.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it looks like it's it's all, you get to know that it's all well planned. The kind of answer that comes out. Yeah.
Absolutely. I have attended a couple of roundtables too, where we sponsored back when I was working with a SaaS company that's also based in Bangalore, which shut
Right.
down because I think I did too much expenses.
Okay.
But again, that fire, it just felt so formal. I have to say, I hold a mic, and then I know what questions are going to come up. I know what is it that I am going to say for those questions.
Yeah.
We sponsored the event. We own the event. Everything that is going to be talked about is something that will be first verified, will go through me, and then will be talked about on the stage. So I mean, they just doesn't feel natural, which is why we stick with virtual for now. But as soon as we have the resources, this is
In
going.
person. In person. Yeah. I think you should do that. That's where I think your 12 months plan should come in play.
Absolutely. No, you're right. Today I got number one pointer in my 12-month roadmap, and I should definitely start prepping. I've heard enough about me being a reckless guy, so high time I start planning.
Right. Absolutely. All the best to you.
Thank you so much.